This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up on the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Today, Kenneth Kohlmann tells us about a modular landscaping robot called Yarbo, followed by your feedback.
I'm Jason Howell.
I am Tom Merritt.
Yes, you are. Let's start with what we all need to know with the big story.
All of us together.
Icon Factory. That's the team behind the very popular and unfortunately now defunct Twitterific client for iOS, has a new multi-feed app for iPhone called Tapestry. Actually, it's iPhone and iPad. The app pulls in feeds from Blue Sky, Mastodon, RSS, YouTube, Tumblr, and more, which I'll talk about, into a single unified timeline in chronological order. So you can imagine using an app where a blog entry appears on top of a new podcast that came out slightly before it, that appears on top of a Blue Sky post, on top of a YouTube video from your favorite creator. I'll let you decide who that might be.
It's Jason.
The app doesn't include any recommendations, doesn't have any algorithmic sorting, at least not yet. That's the cynical side of me. Like, will it eventually? But I hope not. The Icon Factory team calls it a, quote, personal unified timeline, full stop. So that's it. Tapestry offers custom timelines. There's cross-device sync ability for your position where you happen to be reading from. It just picks up on another device. Custom rules, so you can mute posts from view if you don't want spoilers or don't want to see certain keywords appearing in your timeline. Cross-platform search, third-party connectors, and that's actually pretty cool because that means that developers can actually add new capabilities and feed types to the app. So even if it doesn't carry your favorite service now, maybe it will eventually. However, Tapestry will not be all things for all people, as it does carry with it some notable limitations. For example, Blue Sky posts are readable, but the app doesn't enable replying, or you can't like the posts as you read them. YouTube videos are viewable, but the comments section isn't accessible inside of Tapestry, though for some people that might actually be a selling point. And of course, anytime I see a story like this as an Android user, I'm like, okay, so when do I get mine? And I'm sad to see that it's Apple only, at least for now. I didn't see any indication as far as whether it's going to come to Android. I think considering Twitterific stayed on the iPhone, that makes me feel like it might not come to Android, but I'm crossing my fingers. It is free to download with ads. $1.99 monthly subscription or $19.99 yearly subscription, or you can just go whole hog, pay $79.99 as a one-time purchase. I don't know. What do you think, Tom? Like one app we've seen many of these apps come along over the years. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, Icon Factory is great at design. It's a very pretty app. Its user interface is great. There's a lot to like about how they constructed it. It's very privacy forward. It's very customizable. If you are a power user who likes this idea, you're going to get a lot of the whistles and bells right out of the gate that you're going to like. Yes, it's disappointing that it's not for Android, especially because my opinion is this is for power users, and there tend to be more power users on Android than iOS. Not that there aren't power users on iOS too, but my question about it, because it has a lot of buzz in the community around this sort of thing, and it had a successful Kickstarter, is do we really want this? A lot of people say they want it. A lot of people say they want chronological timeline, but it turns out that when you do that, you miss things. And the algorithms, when they're working well, are good at surfacing things you would have missed otherwise that you did want to know. What people get upset about is when the algorithm is doing things that the company wants you to see instead of what you want to see. So I think this will be successful amongst a power user community who really wants a reader app for lots of different things. And this is super successful at that. This is a great app for what you were describing. Like, I want my podcast, my YouTube videos, my Mastodon and Blue Sky feeds, everything all in one. And I think it'll just get better at that. Tumblr's in there, all that stuff. I don't know what the upper limit on that audience is. I also don't know that Icon Factory needs it to be huge. Icon Factory isn't trying to be Facebook. They're not trying to be Twitter. They're just trying to satisfy a need. And I think they've done that here.
Yeah, I'm wondering how an app like this, I'm wondering a couple of things. The messy potential the potential for messiness. I mean, some of the screenshots that I've seen, because I don't, like I said, I have an Android device, so I haven't installed this on my phone to really use it. But some of the screenshots that I've seen, things look very pretty and everything. But I think the challenge or the risk is that when you start pulling in all these different feeds from all these different places, do things look cohesive and unified? Do they have kind of a disconnected kind of feeling quality to it that puts at least a little bit of a speed bump into the process? And then also, and I think that also extends to the fact that, third party development is wonderful, but could that end up making all of this just a little bit noisier depending on how that's approached? And then not being able to interact in all ways, or at least the all important ways. Like, I would say it's pretty important to me, if I'm using a client like this that pulls in Blue Sky, I do want to be able to reply from that app, because if I do want to reply, now I have to then open up another app, and it's not a true solution. It's like a step towards the right direction, but it's not fully committed. And that bugs me a little bit.
Those are both really good points, because the messy thing you can tame, but it takes work, right? And that's why I think this is more for a power user who's like, no, I like to manage things and customize and create connections and all of that. For people who are very casual and just lay back and want it to give stuff to them, it may get a little messy. I think that's a really good point. However, the second point is the biggest one, where even if you're a power user, if you have to leave the app to do a thing, to reply, to like, and granted, you can do some of that in Mastodon. It's just not Blue Sky, so maybe they'll be able to figure out the API and get that to work later. But the more you have to do that, the less likely you're going to keep opening it, because you're like, well, I'm just going to have to open Blue Sky anyway. Let me just open Blue Sky instead.
Yeah, I just had a couple of like a 2-month experiment with micro.blog, which is, kind of a federated kind of microblogging platform that also allows you to share out to Twitter and to Threads and to, essentially rebroadcast it, but you're maintaining your own blog. And, it was very inexpensive. I think it was just like a $1.99 a month or whatever. But at a certain point, it was just like, this is great. And the reason that I wanted it is because it would hopefully simplify things, but it didn't like remove my need to still open up those other apps and sometimes post individually versus one unified post. And if it's not living up to that promise, then I'm not sure why I'm continuing to use it. And that's a little bit of this kind of sniff test that I'm getting here. I just hope that it's a wonderful start. And I really do like the look of it and like the idea and the concept and everything. I hope that in a short amount of time with the team, given who they are, I'm pretty confident they can get here with some work, but that they can get it to the point to where it alleviates most of those speed bumps. Yeah. A
lot of people have tried this sort of newsreader for everything approach and been successful for a short amount of time and then not been successful for their venture capital backers. I like that this is a smaller effort and it's Kickstarter. I think it has a better chance of succeeding for its niche that way. But I like OpenVibe. OpenVibe lets you do Mastodon, Blue Sky, Nostr, and Threads all in one app. That is a social media cross-platform thing, though. It's not the same thing as what Tapestry's doing, but to me, it's like, well, I'll just open Feedly or something if I want the news. I don't use social media as much for news consumption. It's sort of a, drive-by happenstance news consumption for me.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you are not just drive-by happenstance listeners. Perhaps you would like to become a patron. That is the only way this show happens. DTNS is made possible by our listeners. Big thanks to Larry Bailey, Michelle Sergiu, and Kirk Stephenson.
There is more we need to know today, so let's check it out in the briefs.
Apple just Sherlocked Evites. They launched their app Invites. Very close, but not the same. Right. I bet they would have loved to have the name Evite. Invites is an app for subscribers of its 99-cent a month iCloud Plus service. It lets you invite anyone. They don't have to be an iCloud Plus subscriber. They don't even have to be an Apple user. You can invite anyone to your situation and they can respond. It adds information from maps and weather and things like that to help flesh out things so people know how to get to the event, if it's in physical space or what the weather's going to be that day. You can also do some customization like choosing backgrounds from your photos and emoji, using Apple's image playground, and it'll track RSVPs and even let you create a shared music playlist for the event itself.
Honestly, they should have just called it Ivites.
Just drop the end.
I mean, that seems obvious to me.
I kind of love that, yes.
In response to tariffs, the U.S. is scheduled to go into effect Tuesday. China announced export controls on 5 metals used in the manufacturing of electronics and other industrial products. Companies wishing to export 20 tungsten, tellurium, bismuth, indium, and molybdenum. Molybdenum? I knew I was going to slaughter that one.
Easy for
products.
you to say, Jason.
I was like, is that B incorrect? Like, was that a spelling error? To the United States need a special license from the Chinese government. This is not the first restriction on rare earth metals from China. Previous restrictions included germanium, and while licenses have been issued for that metal, exports are still lower than before the restriction. Meanwhile, China has also begun an antitrust investigation into Google that's going to focus on Android's dominance as an operating system. China is already investigating NVIDIA and is considering an investigation into Intel.
Yeah, this is going to catch a lot more attention, I think, because of the current situation with tariffs and the rest of that going on in the U.S. between the U.S. and lots of other countries. But this is not the first restriction on rare earth. It's also a little bit more narrow because it's particular products. So it's leaving some room to increase it later or decrease it. It's definitely a bargaining chip. And it's also just a really, really cruel thing to make us all pronounce molybdenum.
Molybdenum?
Molybdenum linoleum. Molybdenum linoleum. With the Nintendo Switch 2 expected to release sometime this year, the company is slashing forecasts for its current Switch console. We always enter this stage of the Nintendo earnings reports when we're near the launch of their next console. Nintendo shared its earnings that it expects to sell 11 million of the original. That's down from the already reduced 12.5 million estimate they made last time. Net profit for the company fell 6% year over year. And the 8-year-old console saw a 30.6% year-over-year decline in sales in 2024, especially because everybody's like, well, they're going to come out with a new one soon. Why should I buy the old one?
I mean, yeah, and if you're in Nintendo's shoes, you saw that coming. Like, this is just always the way it is. Once you announce a new console, then everybody's like, well, why would I buy the one? Especially when you're talking about like back, the previous library support on the new device. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes sense to wait. Spotify is celebrating its first full year of profit since its launch in 2008. Good job, Spotify. Spotify reported net profits of 1.14 billion euros for 2024 versus 532 million euros in losses the year before. The increase is partially attributed to an 11% year-over-year increase in premium subscribers and 12% jump in monthly active users. It's also timed with Spotify's price increase to $11.99. That's $11.99 a month that happened last June.
Canalys research released this week shows a healthy smartphone market. Smartphones grew 7% in 2024, following 2 years of declines. Apple remains the top worldwide for the second straight year, although shipments of Apple phones dropped 1%. It's essentially flat. Samsung is right on its tail, followed by Xiaomi, who drove growth for the smartphone industry more than any other vendor with a 15% shipment gain for the year. And Samsung's Galaxy S24 series was a huge hit, representing its best-selling flagship since 2019's Galaxy S10 series. And by all accounts, the S25 might not repeat that.
Yeah, getting those vibes as well. I mean, I have the S24. This is an audio show, but I'm holding it up right now, the S24 Ultra, and it's a fantastic phone. So I totally get it.
Yeah, just stick with that one, folks.
Okay, I will. Opera's new browser, Opera Air, is designed to keep you cool, calm, and collected. It has a transparent design. It's more like a semi-transparent design. If it was fully transparent, it'd be really hard to use. And a floating sidebar with a mindfulness toolkit. Something called Boosts brings ambient sound and binaural beats to the experience in an attempt to kind of improve your focus while you're using the browser. There's a customizable break reminder that interjects a healthy nudge to take a pause, and the Air feature introduces breathing exercises, stretches, and guided meditations lasting up to 15 minutes. Air is a free download for Mac or Windows.
Opera never disappoints in trying new features. That's
totally.
Amazing.
You got to give them credit for that.
Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reports this week Apple canceled a project known as N107. If you've been following the rumor space, it would have built AR glasses to be used with a Mac as an external display, kind of like what Xreal does. It would have used some of Apple Vision Pro's functionality, but at a lower price point. Project was originally intended to work with iPhones, but processing power hindered its performance. Although, Xreal and other people seem to be able to figure it out. They couldn't make it work good enough for Apple. Gurman reports that Apple is still working on successors to the Apple Vision Pro, though.
Hopefully a little less expensive in those efforts as well. Anthropic unveiled a new defense system meant to work against jailbreak attacks on LLMs, creating a filter that impacts questions and responses, so the input and the output, to scan for potential attempts to circumvent those system restrictions. The system was tested by 183 users in a bug bounty program that analyzed 10,000 jailbreak prompts, resulting in a drop of successful attacks from 86% to 4.4%. So that seems like a pretty big success. No system is perfect, of course, and the shield can sometimes block legitimate questions, as you can imagine, about biology and chemistry as a few examples, and increases compute cost by nearly 25%.
And Instagram is testing a feature that lets users pause Reels, a sign that Meta continues to attempt to win over users from TikTok's uncertain outlook in the United States. When I say pause Reels, I mean like when they're playing, you can stop them and look at the video. Meta says a small number of users worldwide are testing the feature. Just single tap, pause and resume. Same thing. Very TikTok. Before this, a single tap would only mute the playback audio, but the video would keep playing, and you had to tap and hold if you wanted to pause the playing video.
That's so much work.
Yeah, I know. Who wants to pause and hold? Just tap. It is kind of weird. I never understood that. Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive in deeper in some of the ongoing stories and follow up.
Yeah, well, you, Tom Merritt, talked to Kenneth Kohlmann about a modular landscaping assistant tool. Let's take a listen.
I'm here with Ken from Yarbo.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this. It looks like it's a modular system.
Yeah, correct. So
but
Yarbo,
very big modules.
Yeah. So Yarbo is the world's first modular yard robot, right? So basically, there's two kinds of robots right now, predominantly for the yard, right? Pool robots, lawn robots, and maybe a lawn robot that sweeps leaves, right?
Sure.
So we knew there was more to the yard, right, than just that. And we really wanted to create one solution that could handle all of the seasons, right? So one solution to invest in that can handle all your yard care needs. So Yarbo, really the center of Yarbo is its main core.
Okay.
The main core houses all the brains, all the power. None of the modules have separate batteries. They're all run off one big battery in here. And as we mentioned, they're all modular. So if you want to take a module off, this one is just a button on the bottom, and it literally just slides off.
Oh, okay.
When you slide it off, you just twist the connector here and give it a little wiggle, and now this is off. You can put the next one on.
And then you attach whatever. Does this have any functionality other than locomotion on its own, or is it all in the modules?
Good question. So this really is all the brains for navigation.
Yeah, okay.
Primarily GPS, but then if we don't have GPS or we're in a weak area of GPS, we rely on our wheel odometry, right? Okay. Our IMU, and then what our cameras see to navigate. Also,
how many cameras are on it?
Yeah, so every module has two cameras in the front, binocular cameras in the front, two binocular cameras in the rear on the main body, and one on each side.
Okay.
All the cameras on the main body are heated because we don't know whether you're going to get a snowblower, a winter module, or a lawnmower module. But if it's not for the winter, then that module in particular might not.
Are there other sensors in addition to the cameras? Or?
Yeah, there is. So this has binocular cameras, but if we go to the snowblower, this has binocular cameras. It has a soft touch bumper, but really we rely on our cameras. These are heated. Depends on the application though, right? So these have, and this actually, if you feel this is resistive. So it's not like a lot of the mechanical bumpers that you'll see where they have to ram into something. So we wanted to make it really, really sensitive. And if you go to something like the lawnmower has additional sensors that are applicable to it, like ultrasonic sensors, binocular, and then again that soft touch bumper, and a rain sensor. So, and then you'll see the leaf blower also has the same binocular cameras. All our modules have headlights so they can operate in the dark, which is really important. And that same soft touch bumper at the bottom. So,
and then whatever module you've attached to the front, it can be autonomous. It can just do what it's going to do.
100%. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to use Yarbo, right?
Okay.
So really, it's designed to marry with the wireless docking station, right? It has to be wireless because in case you are going to use it in the snow, it needs to be able to clear off its own docking station, right? And we don't have to worry about having snow in between the unit and the charging, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. The question again?
I was asking if it's fully autonomous for all the modules.
Yeah, they are all completely autonomous. So this module allows a couple things. One of them is follow me mode. So Yarbo can tow up to 3,500 pounds. So one popular use case is towing things around your yard, firewood, mulch, right?
Yeah.
So you can literally walk in front of Yarbo and it will follow you around the yard. Yes. Then the idea is to take the heavy lifting out of it, right? So Yarbo can't be a complete replacement for every little thing in your yard, but take the mundane tasks, the heavy lifting out of it. So if you enjoy gardening, right, you don't have to bring the mulch around, right? Dragging that around with a wheelbarrow. Dirt.
Having just done that speaks to my heart.
There you go. There you go. The other thing this allows is tow mode. So anything you tow with a ride-on tractor or a universal like hitch, like an aerator, dethatcher, you can tow with Yarbo in autonomous mode.
Gotcha.
So if you were to hook up, say, a leaf sweeper, 4-foot leaf sweeper, you say, hey, I want to go into tow mode. I want to tow something that's 4 feet wide, and I want a 1-foot overlap between passes. It already knows your lawn, so now it'll go and autonomously, tow that attachment. The other thing that this module allows is patrol mode. So it can patrol your yard, say at night, and if it sees somebody or you're away, before they get to your front door, it will make an announcement through the stereo speakers and say, the owner's been notified. Please leave the property immediately. And then flash its lights.
How heavy is just the main module?
Yeah, the way it sits like this, it's about 100 pounds. But if you want to try and yank on one side, it's very, very solid.
Yeah, maybe Rob, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's one of its anti-theft, passive anti-theft settings.
Right.
The other one is geofence. So you make a geofence area around your property. If it leaves that area, it'll set off an alarm. It'll activate its 4G antenna, and you can track it anywhere in the world for up to 10 days.
How much battery life does it have?
Yeah, good question. So it depends on the application. The battery is optionally hot swappable.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's modular too.
Yeah, the battery's about 25 pounds. That's a 38 amp hour battery. So if you're doing an application like tow mode, you can cover acres. If you're doing the lawnmower, you can maintain up to 6 acres at a time, which means basically cutting two times a week, right? Maintaining your lawn.
Gotcha.
If you're doing the snow blower, it's about 6,000 feet per charge. And if you're doing the blower, you're probably talking about the same, a little less coverage than the lawnmower.
How does it learn your location? Do you train it?
Yeah, exactly. So if it's the driveway, you'll drive it around your driveway, and we have different modes. So for the snowblower, we have areas which would be like your driveway, a small parking lot, something like that. We have walkways, so we call them pathways, but that could be a walkway. And then we have a dedicated sidewalk mode, because a lot of people that are in snowy areas are responsible for their sidewalk. So that takes a dedicated algorithm. You can control the auger height. If you have a gravel driveway, you could raise it electronically. The other really cool part about the snowblower is that it's actually better than a typical traditional two-stage snowblower, because a traditional two-stage snowblower, you're going to typically adjust your snowshoes so it's a little bit off the ground, so you're not always catching it on high points of your driveway. But Yarbo actually is designed to scrape to the bottom of your driveway, unless you have a gravel driveway. And the reason for that is you're going to scrape down to the asphalt, right? You're going to scrape down to the concrete and get a clean sweep, not get that frozen layer. If it detects an unlevel area, it'll actually know that, and it'll raise the auger up it'll back up, go past that unlevel area, and then lower it back down.
Okay.
So super important.
So how does the setup work if you're going to buy it? Do you have prices?
Yeah. So
what's the package like?
Yeah, so everything you see here is about $6,800 if you buy it as a package. That's
everything. With the 3 modules and
so that's our core. Every Yarbo comes with a Smart Assist module if you just want to buy the unit itself.
Okay.
Then we have the snowblower module, the leaf blower module, that handheld hose. That's pretty cool because you actually don't need then a separate handheld battery-operated blower, and it's more powerful than a typical one. And then you have the lawnmower.
Okay, and you can buy these individually?
You can, yeah.
How much are they individually?
So individually they vary. This is about $1,800. That's about $1,500. That's just over $1,000, I believe, right now. They're all on yarbo.com.
Okay.
But
are they available now? Or?
They are all available in shipping. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's so rare at CES.
I know. Well, you know what? As a company, it's been really fulfilling the last couple of weeks. So we have obviously a snowstorm's going on in like Kansas City right now, and you know, seeing the videos of people drinking coffee or at work, or just one guy posted a video, you know, laying in bed, and it's split screen, and the other one is his snowblower. You know, he's like, I'm snow blowing the driveway, and you know, and then there's elderly people that are using it, where you know, that's a game changer. So it's been really cool seeing it in customers' hands.
Excellent, and very timely for that one for sure. Ken, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, terrific.
Take care.
Thank you.
What do you want to hear about us talk about on the show? One way to let us know is our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at reddit.com/r/Daily Tech News Show.
All right, we end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. And today, David Ward is helping us understand.
David reached out on Patreon with this comment. I'm only on my second cup of joe, so maybe I missed it. But in my mind, the reason everybody loves the phrase deep research, we were mentioning that Google and OpenAI both named their agent Deep Research. He says the reason everybody loves the phrase deep research, and given the higher reasoning academic quality of the AI bots, is the acronym DR, aka doctor. I'm sure somebody thought it'd be cute to have the flexibility to call these Dr. AIs or Dr. bots at some point. At least that's the way it struck me. Is that the way it struck you, Jason?
Didn't strike me that way, although there is a lot of revisionist stuff going on in the world of AI. For example, AI itself and Apple Intelligence. You know, this stuff doesn't surprise me anymore. They're all looking for a way to differentiate themselves. That just means there's a ton of people playing the same game.
I think David's on to something, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Although you could still come up with another acronym besides that would be DR rather than just taking the same one that Google did. I don't know if that was done on purpose or just accidental or what. But maybe we should rename the email segment All In.
That took me a second. Yes, maybe so. And you know what? If that happened, David, we'd have you to blame. So thank you for that. Thank you, Kenneth Kohlmann, for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. The show is made possible by our patrons at patreon.com/DTNS. DTNS has a live version, of course, called DTNS Live on YouTube and Twitch. You can find details on that and more on dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.